Hey, hi. Okay, today I did more market research about the inflation that's going to be caused by, or presently caused by, the Ukraine-Russia crisis, which I think is very transitory. And then you also have this thing called the um, spiral wages increase that outpace the growth of outpace inflation. Does it mean that it is good for the stock market? And then we're going to study briefly whether inflation, if it is too much and the Fed is too late in the curve, is it bad for the market slash recession? So just going to share with you a bit about this article. Um, okay, 1 second. Which is this is by Meet Kevin.
Wage price spiral. And the IMF tells us the first sign of a wage price spiral is when essentially in a labor report, you see that wages are rising faster than inflation. And that's literally what we had in January. In the January labor report that we got at the beginning of February, what happened? We saw evidence of a wage price spiral forming, which is very, very bad. Because if you have a wage price spiral, even if the inflationary pressures of supply chains go away, the wage price spiral keeps prices going up. Very, very bad. In this scenario, the Fed has to force a recession because
Okay, so if you see, the initial last year's inflation story was actually contributed by supply chain crisis. Manufacturing companies were closing down, and they take time to catch up to the demand by consumer. And then 2022, you have a transitory Ukraine and Russia, uh, supply inflationary crisis that may cause, but that is transitory. And then you may have spiral wages that may continue to add on to the inflation while the supply chain crisis eases up. So I just want to show you another article that's quite important.
which means companies have to incentivize people by paying them more, increase their wage. But when you do that, you increase the odds of the wage price spiral. And this is when you increase people's wages, you as a company will probably pass on those costs to your consumers by charging them more money. But that also contributes to inflation, which means, guess what? You have to pay people more money. As you pay people more money, you got to pass on those costs to your consumers by charging them more money, contributing to inflation. Guess what? Pay people more money. And it's a vicious cycle of back and forth, and that is not the place we want to be. Now, all of this really depends on aggregate demand. If this conflict scares consumers and we start saving money and we stop spending, then I could see the Fed slow down on interest rate increases or maybe not increasing them as much. But if demand still stays high and we're still spending money regardless,
Okay, so this is a very important question. We have to predict the market trend in terms of the consumer spending habits. Um, of course, this Ukraine-Russia crisis would make us save more. I think the likelihood is there. The psychology of spending is there, and I'm seeing that if the consumer spending power, despite the rising wages, meaning people save more money, uh, there would be a tendency of the Fed easing on the rate hikes because of slowing consumer demand, and also the Ukraine and Russia crisis. And these two factors may make the Fed more accommodative. So I will going to go on another video on the part two. I'm going to keep this video short, um, which I will be talking about the what is relationship of this the consequence of this inflation that may continue to happen, but this year for different reasons, and what are their what would affect the stock market, and whether companies would continue to have good QR reports, quarterly earnings, and whether a recession is coming, and which has especially a technical recession. So I will see you again. Please click a like to my channel. Thank you very much.